from After Dark Commentary and Reactions. This is the next episode of the 1923 Rewatch, episode 4. Jeb, what's the title episode 4?
This was War in the Turquoise Tide.
War in the Turquoise Tide.
Yeah.
So, Jeb Beecham, Jake Thomas, Stephen Willis join us. We're going to talk about 1923. We're presented by Dead Soxy. We'll get more of that later. But, Jeb, what happened?
All right, well, I'm going to do this one a little different rather than going chronologically through the episode. We're just going to go through the 3 storylines, basically, and let you know what happened in this episode just to get you caught up. So the first one I'm going to start off with is the one we were actually missing last week, and that's the Tiona Rainwater, I Bleav is her name, the Native American girl who was taken off the reservation in Montana and taken over to a school in the Dakotas to learn to be a good Christian white woman. And in this one, like I said, we missed it last week. We finally picked up back in this one, but nothing's really changed. They're still basically using violence to teach these girls to give up their culture and adopt the white culture. And Tiona's still just not having it. So when one girl starts getting punished for not picking fruit fast enough because there's thorns that are pricking her, Tiona decides to take a bucket and just knock the nun out cold. It's trying to punish her. Unfortunately, nobody's watching Tiona 6, and she gets a shovel to the face. So from our favorite sister Mary, who's the one that has taken it upon herself to teach Tiona to either be white or she will kill her trying. So now they've got her. They take her down. They lock her up and basically start beating her until she accepts Jesus into her heart. Because we all know that is how you get somebody to convert to Christianity, because that's what Jesus says in the Bible. You beat the shit out of them until they accept us. And it seems to work a little bit, because Tiona does eventually decide she's tired of being beat and decides to be saved. Request them to do it, which they chop off her hair. They violently scrub her beat up body. For a lot of pain involved in this, but save her, which sounds wonderful. Until later that evening, when we find out that Tiona has finally had enough and she's leaving. So one of her friends wakes up and sees her getting ready to go. I think she uses something. I don't know if it was soot or what exactly, but something to paint war lines on her face and decides she's out. Ask her friend to come with her. Her friend won't do it, but she does steal her friend's Bible to put into a pillowcase, which was interesting. The friend's worried about this because she thinks Sister Mary will punish her for losing her Bible, and Tiona tells her, no, she's not going to punish you. Don't worry about that. So the way she leaves is by going through Sister Mary's room and giving her a nice little code red, beating her with those Bibles in that pillowcase. And then basically strangles her to death. So that's her story so far up to this point. It does appear that you were correct, Corey, Jake, with y'all's predictions that she was going to run away. I thought they may wait for the grandmother to get her a little closer, but they didn't. She's taking off. She did snatch
You ran away all right.
Yeah. Snatched a letter opener on her way out, but we don't know what's happened after that. So that's where her story ends. So that's the little piece we didn't get last week. It was nice to see that come back and see what happens. And it'd be interesting to see where that's going. Next, we pick up with the Yellowstone Ranch and the Duttons that are still there. This is in the wake of the shooting last week. Of course, John Dutton, one of the nephews, has passed away, but we knew he died. Jack Dutton, the oldest Harrison Ford character, is still hanging on. He makes it through the night, so we know he's alive, but he's still pretty close to death. They still seem pretty worried he's going to die. This is where they first started getting their interesting discussion about hope and how it's not really something you want to have out in this area, which I found really interesting, because they weren't saying that you couldn't hope for a better future, but it's the way you had to look at it and frame it in your mind. But anyway, the youngest, Jake Dutton, is still, he got shot in the shoulder, but he's okay. His fiance is Jack. Thank you. I know it's Jake Johnson. Jack's it's driving me nuts. Jack, the youngest, who is the nephew's son, Harrison Ford's nephew's son. Yes, he is injured, and his fiance was shot in the stomach. They're both okay. The fiance does, I think, get a little bit of a fever trying to recover, so she's having a rough recovery. Her mother, who, by the way, the fiance's father was also killed in the attack. So the mother comes to take her away and basically wants to take her back east to better hospitals and just get out of that madness, which makes sense. But it turns out that the younger one again, or Elizabeth, the daughter, has to once again decide if she wants to stay on the Yellowstone with the man that she purportedly loves or leave. And she doesn't hesitate. She's staying with Jack. So it seems like that's going to be a strong relationship, which is good to see for Jack. But now the issue you have is what are they going to do about what's happening? So basically, what you see in the background, which a little later on, is Banner Creighton, who's the sheep herder, Braun, does come and does actually have a plan. So he meets up with the survivors of the attack, and it turns out there's only like 3 of them in total. And I don't remember, I didn't count last week, but it seemed like at least a dozen people attacked, and only 3 of them got away alive. So it wasn't real successful in that sense. But you get the impression that he had a plan this whole time. And his plan was just to kill the Harrison Ford character, basically. And the son, getting him was a big bonus. But that's because he didn't want to just get revenge for them hanging his men. He actually wants to try and take over that area, take over the ranch, and basically run the rest of the Duttons out, which he thinks with Harrison Ford's character and that nephew out, but the way he can do that. And what you find out is he goes to what I think what Steve was referring to as the main antagonist of the show moving forward. Mm-hmm. He goes and finds James Bond and gets him to help out. Well, it's a former Bond. He's retired. But no, Timothy Dalton's character, who I do not remember the name of. Let's see. Hold on. I think I had that somewhere in here. Donald Whitfield is his name. Mm-hmm. And Donald Whitfield is a very wealthy man in this area, and he makes his money on minerals. So he mines gold, silver, anything he can find. But basically, he's a miner who owns a lot. It appears he's very wealthy. He has a lot of cars in his parking lot during a time when not many people had cars. I don't think anybody else in the show outside of Banner Creighton did show up in a car at one point during the attack, which I found kind of interesting. Nobody else has cars, but yeah, with the Tommy. It's like he went to Chicago and borrowed some stuff from Al Capone and then came back. I don't know.
Anyway. See, I'm going to kill you. See,
I found that pretty interesting. But anyway, now he's gone and met with this guy. Basically, what he says is, I want to take over this area, but I need men to do it. And this guy says, well, I will give you money to be able to hire men so you can basically hire your own little private army if, when you take over the ranch, I get all the mining rights to anywhere I want on the ranch. If I want to mine it, I can mine it. The fields where you can use to graze your sheep or whatever, I don't care. And they come to an agreement on that. So he goes and actually hires a bunch of men. And they come out to the ranch in the middle of the night and basically go to one of the East Ranch, and steal a bunch of the cattle there, rustle them off and take them to sell them in Wyoming. This gets back to the Duttons. Of course, like I said, Jack Dutton is still laid up in bed, hanging on to life. Jake, the younger one, and Zane and some of the other ranchers want to go chase him down and try and get the cattle back.
Jack.
What did I call him?
You called him Jake. Jake is.
Oh, sorry, Jake. Jack.
Jake is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harrison Ford is still laid up in bed. Now he's still dead. Okay, I'm gonna call him Jacob.
Richard Kimball is still laid up in bed.
Yes, there you go. I don't know. Okay, so Indiana Jones is in bed, right? And then, but Jack
is in bed.
Yeah.
Baby Dutton. I'm gonna call him Baby Dutton. He wants to run off with Zane and a bunch of cowboys, get the cattle back. But Kara, now the Helen Mirren character, she's not sure about this. She's afraid they're gonna get hurt. She doesn't know what to do without her husband, so she goes and talks to him. Turns out he's still awake. He was able to respond, and he lets her know that, in his opinion, the worst thing they could do right now is lose more people, because they're waiting on Spencer to get back. They're hoping that they're going to be able to retake everything. They need someone there who can help, who's strong, who's been to war. But if they get everybody else killed off in the meantime, then there's not going to be anything for Spencer to do when he gets there. So they make the agreement, and Kara kind of leads this in deciding that the cattle aren't worth it at this point. Those cattle, they'll lose them, keep the people alive, wait for Spencer to get back, and then they'll decide what to do. Which ticks off Jack, but and Zane really, but they both go with it. And basically, Kara's now taking over with Harrison Ford laid up. Sounds like she's going to be in charge. And she decides to go to the next cattle ranch meeting because at this point, if Harrison Ford doesn't show up to that meeting, people are going to know something's wrong, and then people are going to come after the farm. They know that I put them in a weak position. So she goes to the meeting and basically tells everybody that Harrison Ford is off chasing the thieves down to Wyoming, and that's why he's not there. But she's there on his behalf and speaking with his authority, which I think Banner Creighton, of course, knows is a lie because he's the one that shot this guy. But at the same time, he can't really tell people he knows it's a lie because he saw him shot without admitting that he was there and doing the shooting. So he's not really able to do anything except just listen to her. And she decides at this point that what this commission needs, because they don't really have this in that, that territory right now, is a police force. And that the Livestock Commission should be able to basically band together and hunt down cattle thieves and murderers and that kind of thing and bring them to justice. Which is interesting because in Yellowstone, that's what happens. The livestock commissioner has an actual little police force that work with the police in the area. There are still cops, but they have their own enforcement division. And we lost Jacob. No,
he's out of
Jack,
AOL
John,
disc.
Jeremiah. I don't know. We lost one of the J's, which I know is funny coming from a J, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, but basically now she's trying to argue that this is what they need. They've written to the governor. They're going to try and get authority. You find out that she actually kind of decided that on her own while she was on her way to the meeting, which is real interesting. And she's now just making the decisions on her own. But this upsets Banner because he realizes, okay, if they actually get an enforcement division, I'm going to have a lot more trouble taking over. So this is what the big conflict is going to be now moving forward. They're trying to get the authority. The Duttons are trying to get the authority to actually become police force. Creighton's trying to get all these hired guns together to run them out. And so it's going to be very interesting moving forward, just conflict between those two groups. And the final storyline is Africa. We go back to Spencer and Alexandra, who are now enjoying themselves in Africa. They apparently are having a great time. They found a nice little private beach to live on for a while. They take a little trip out to another little private beach. They have sex on both of them just for the fun of it. They're just having a great life, right? And at some point, Alexandra starts going through some of Spencer's things and finds these letters that have been coming from home that Spencer's just never opened. They apparently, Kara, Helen Mirren's character, has been writing them all through the war. And he's just kind of ignored it all. He's been running from everything. So she decides to open one and read it to him. And then it's so interesting to her. She decides to keep on reading. She goes through a bunch of these letters. Eventually he falls asleep. And she wakes him up to let him know that she just read the last one. And he's got to know what it says. And he's not entirely interested, but she does eventually convince him to let her tell him. And it's the letter that we have heard penned in the last episode about Harrison Ford's character being shot and probably going to die soon. His brother, John Dutton, has been killed, and that the ranch is going to be overrun and just destroyed if he doesn't come home and help save it. And they look at it, and the date that she put on the letter as far as when she sent it, and it was 3 months ago, which from everything we've heard, they were expecting it to take months to get to him anyway. So it sounds like he just got this letter recently, or else it moved a lot faster than they thought. At one point, Harrison Ford even said it would probably be a year before he made it home. And it looks like this is going to be happening a lot faster than that, because surely they can get home within a month at this point. So it sounds like he's going to get there a little faster than we all thought. But the show's not going to make us wait till the next last episode or something for him to get there. It sounds like he's moving along. How many episodes are there in this show?
8.
So
so not the next to last, but maybe 2 from the last. But either way, it's moving along. So that's how we end the show, is Spencer realizing he's going to have to go home and fight this war. And so now it's going to be another interesting conversation between him and Alexandra, because she's already been following him through so much weird stuff. And now she's about to find out they're going to war in Wyoming. I'm sure she's excited. Anyway, I'll turn that back over to you now, Corey.
All right. So hey there, college sports fans. Want to show your allegiance down to your socks? Dead Soxy's got you covered with vibrant socks in your team's colors, whether it's purple and gold, crimson, or cardinal. Dead Soxy is the place to go. On pair you like, subscribe for big-time perks like a consistent 25% discount, early access to exclusive styles, and free shipping. Plus, we welcome all new members with a free gift. What that free gift is, you'll have to find out. So why not go to deadsoxy.com. Why wait? Find your favorite socks at deadsoxy.com right now. So let's react to what Jeb said, okay? This was an exciting episode. I'm glad I called it right on the rainwater storyline. Didn't think it was going to be that extreme, but she did run away. That one, I kind of figured that was coming, and that sister got what I guess she had coming to her, I guess, but.
It'd be interesting to see how. Go ahead. No, I was going to say it'd be interesting to see how they move forward with that, because at this point, if she's murdering people on her way out, white Christian people, especially nuns,
they're going to come. They're going to be chasing her.
Yeah, and if they find her, they're going to hang her. This isn't going to be something where they drag her back to the school or something. So at this point, she's on the run for her life now. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, they're definitely chasing her. The Dutton storyline, this is going to get extremely interesting. Obviously, this is the main storyline of the show, but this whole war between Banner and the Dutton family. When Spencer gets involved, whichever episode that is, it's going to get real interesting.
Yeah, I liked when Helen Mirren told a Banner Creighton character, "I can't wait till you meet my nephew."
Mhm.
He's like, "I already killed him." She said, "No, not that one."
Yeah.
And then she's right. I think he's going to come back. I mean, war is what he knows. Hunting is what he knows.
This guy is a master of trench warfare.
Yeah, and stalking and hunting. It's not going to go well for Creighton's men, I don't think. Especially if he ends up getting a badge out of it, because then it's kind of like a Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. Now it's all legal. He can just start hunting those people down. So that should be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see him manhunt.
Is Jake frozen?
I think we lost Jake.
Jake is definitely frozen. Or this is the best poker face he's ever had in his entire life.
Although he kind of looks like Seth Rogen right now.
He wiggled a bit.
Trying to.
But no, I was surprised. Although I did when we were talking about just predictions, because y'all were predicting Tiana run away. I did predict just based off what I know of Yellowstone that if there was a big antagonist of this show, that it would just be somebody after the land, and because that's how Yellowstone really is. I mean, it's all about them trying to keep that ranch. I think 1883 was set up as them trying to basically find and get all that land. Everything else is just them trying to keep it from everybody coming after it. And that seems like that's what this show is going to be about too. Is these now constant. People?
Yeah.
Always battles against somebody with a lot of money and a lot of influence coming to try and take them out. And of course, they have a lot of money and influence, although they're kind of short of money sometimes, but certainly influence in the area. So it just becomes Yellowstone is a really fun battle that a lot of it is just legal battles, and that sounds boring, but they make it very exciting, especially when you got someone like Beth being your lawyer. It's or point man, I guess. I guess she's not technically a lawyer, but it makes it a lot of fun in Yellowstone. So we'll have to see if 1923 can make it as exciting. Although it looks like they're going to kind of bypass the courts a bit here and do a lot more, murder.
We're going to see some frontier justice here.
Yes. Yeah. And that's one way to do it.
Or some more frontier justice, as we've already seen.
Yeah,
a little
really
country
have.
justice.
Yeah. We've already seen hangings and then ambushes. So, I can't wait to see how they make it more exciting than that. So,
yeah, should be interesting. This episode was one of my favorites, honestly, because of the Spencer and Alex storyline, and just him being. You saw Spencer as just a truly happy person, which you haven't seen until now. He's completely contented. He's happy. And at the very end, you get the storyline to where honestly, they may not be married, but they're already acting like an old married couple, and she's going through his stuff and stuff like that. And, he tells the story about what all happened. It was real interesting about the reason he doesn't read letters is because if you want to die in the war, get really homesick. If you lose your focus in that can be kryptonite. And then, like you said, after the war was over, he just felt guilty. They just kept coming. And one thing that you probably did not notice, but whenever they were reading the first letter, okay, whenever she read the first one that was about the German spring offensive, there was a glimmer where it repeated, and then all of a sudden it became Kara's voice. And what that was, I think it was in Spencer's head. That's how he was hearing it being read. It clicked over for him all of a sudden. It's not Alex just reading that to him. He's actually hearing the voices of people back home. So the first homesicks that he had was when that letter was being read. That was like a reminder that kind of snapped him over that, hey, I missed this type situation.
Well, that must be rough on your mind, though. If you're hitting this point of, oh my God, I miss home, I miss all these people, and then the next letter is, oh, by the way, a bunch of people have died and we're all under siege, and you need to get home and save us all. That's pretty upsetting. I mean, that letter would be upsetting anyway, but in that situation, that's got to be rough on him. So, but I mean, it sounds like he's going to have a few weeks to think about it before he gets there, because that's the good old days, man. Can't just jump on a plane and be home.
It's funny that you think he's getting home by the end of the season.
Well, it's true, and that's the other thing I was thinking when he was Harrison Ford said, "Oh, it could be a year before he's here." I'm like, man, how much time is going to go by this season? Are they going to have a lot of just waiting around? Which in this episode, we must have seen a good 3 months go by because the attack just happened. They sent the letter at the beginning of the episode. By the end of the episode, it's been 3 months when he gets the letter, unless they're showing these out of time.
Out of time timelines.
Yeah, that's true. He could get home and they already be dead or something. I don't know. We just haven't seen that yet. But
now it's important to realize that the writer of this show said that they based the Spencer journey home on Odysseus.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah,
you did say that earlier.
Yeah, and
that
there's still some things they have to go through. I'll just put it like that.
I don't know. I really want to see Spencer versus Banner, so it's kind of disappointing to know that's not going to happen anytime soon. But still, they've done a great job up to this point, so I'm not going to complain.
Season 2 debuting in 2028. We'll see Spencer.
Yeah. These rewatches are going to come in real handy on YouTube.
Well, yeah, but with the writer strike and possible actor strike, who knows when we'll get another season. So, man, I hate these strikes. I get why they do it. I'm not mad at them. I hate it. It disrupted a lot of good shows back the last time it happened, and now it's very possible it's going to destroy some good ones this time.
Yeah, I think what they need to realize is that we don't care about what goes on behind the scenes. We just want to watch our cool shows that we like. And if we're not able to do that, we're not going to blame the studio who would still be producing said show if nothing changed. We are going to blame the strike. And I understand you trying to go to everything, but that's just a factual thing with the strike right now.
Do y'all remember Heroes? Oh, just such a great first season. Just so great. And then just tanked after that. Horrible. Oh, fucking writer strike.
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Oh, it was so good the first season. And then they just destroyed it.
I guess I caught on to that show later, and I was like, this show's garbage. Why does everybody love this show?
Oh, the first season was wonderful. And it was just different and interesting. There were other good ones that came out at the same time. There was a sitcom, I don't know if y'all ever saw it, but it was Michael Chiklis, actually, where his whole family got superpowers somehow. And then it was so weird, but there was only one season of it because the strike hit it too and just never came back. Which said like Michael Chiklis was really strong and like his son was incredibly smart. And I think his wife was really fast, maybe. I don't know. It was just like they all got one random superpower. I don't remember what that was called. My Super Family maybe or something like that. I don't know.
The Incredibles?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The Incredibles.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. No, it was such a good show. But
what a dark.
But anyway, back to 1923.
Yeah,
Act like
seriously.
I'm living in Florida here. Yeah, so Jake, since you've been on and off and dropping and whatever, AOL, looking at what's your favorite storyline in this episode? Where do you think? I guess your favorite part of the episode. What did you like the most?
Oh, I really love the Tiana Rainwater episode because, I mean, she pretty much took it to those nuns. She had enough, and I know she was getting the crap beat out of her, but I think she did it so they would stop when she said, I'll resist and I'll be saved. But she needed to do that to get out of that predicament and plan her next attack, and that's what she did. So I'm excited to see what happens, following in the following episodes with her, because like I'm sure you guys mentioned, I mean, she's a murderer now pretty much on the run. So, they're going to have every cowboy and every law enforcement out there, especially trying to chase down a Native American girl. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that makes it interesting with her grandmother trying to find her too. I mean, what's going to happen there? I don't know if she's going to take some blame for that and at this point they know where she came from. So she wants to get home, but they're going to be either looking for or, out on the reservation for. I mean, I guess the reservations are pretty big, and I guess they can move around. And there's not at this point, there's not houses out there, so they could hide her, I guess, out there. But it would be difficult, and you just never know when the army might decide to just roll through and start killing their way through until they find her. I mean, it's the situation out there was so dire. This may be why we talked about in Yellowstone. Rainwater not knowing his heritage, it may be that she's never able to make it home, but
Right.
which would be sad, but also fairly realistic. So we'll see.
And the other thing, Jeb, you mentioned it about the letter, and we talked about the last episode how it could be months before it showed up, and sure enough, it was 3 months. So I guess moving forward, what's happened in those 3 months since he's got the letter at the ranch? I mean, has there been more fighting? Are we going to find out more before he gets there? And in that time frame, what has happened those 3 months while that letter was in transit to him?
That's true. Because I Bleav Cara Dutton said at the meeting she was at that they were going to reconvene in, was it 1 month, I think?
1 month. Yeah.
And to talk about forming a police force. So that's still 2 months before he got the letter. So,
Right.
we need to see what's been happening since then. Have they formed it? I want to know if how the show is going to move forward with this. If it is going to be disjointed storylines where we're seeing one thing happen at one time over here and then this happen another time over here, or if they're just going to have the stories jump. So now, Cara Dutton, by the time we go back, it's been 3 months and she's got the police force and everything going, or if we're going to see all that happen. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that with the broken up storylines, because some shows do that and it can get really confusing, but it's usually shows that try to hide it. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Witcher on Netflix, but Witcher did that their first season where there was different storylines happening, and you didn't find out until partway through the season that they weren't happening at the same time. Like, this was just all different times all over the place, and it was very confusing for a while until you figured out what was going on. And I don't know. I mean, this wouldn't be that bad, but at the same time, I don't know if that's what they're going to do here, where the different storylines are. I mean, the Tiana Rainwater thing could be happening, 50 years from all this. We don't know. It's not like we've seen any crossover. But yeah, I want to see how they handle that moving forward for sure.
And go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was going to say, just a second, we need to do our predictions for next week's episode.
Let's get into it now.
Yeah, because we're at 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's get into it now.
Okay.
All right, so my prediction, for Rainwater, they find the nun dead. That's how we're going to start that storyline. They find the nun dead, and they're gonna organize a search party, and they're going to go try to bring her back and deal with her in whichever way they deal with her, which is probably going to be something, if they do catch her, something gruesome, something heinous or whatever, torturous. I think there's going to be some massive legal battles. I think they're going to form that police force, and then you're going to see a constant chess match between Banner's crew and the police force of, cat and mouse type situations. They're going to steal some cattle, and it's just going to be kind of one of these deals where they're just constantly searching for each other, all while Spencer is trying to get back to Montana.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Corey, with that. Tiana Rainwater, like you said, I Bleav they come in, they find the nun dead, and they organize a search party, try to look for her. One question I have is, do they find out that one girl that she's been trying to protect, do they take the loss out on her more potentially, and maybe she's the one who causes a rebellion inside? We thought it might have been Rainwater, but it could be this girl here, because she's got to play into it somehow, because she's been a major character so far. And the Dutton ranch, I Bleav that the police force gets created. I think they're going to search for Banner. They can't find his crew. How does the Timothy Dalton character, how does he play into all this moving forward? And Spencer and Alex, I wonder if something happens to them on the way there and it gets delayed by a little bit. It just seems like there's some kind of trouble always following Spencer. And one question I also have is, these last two episodes have been a lot of action packed, and it's kind of kept my interest. How are they going to do that moving forward? Are they going to be able to keep people's interest, including mine, moving forward with
there's got to be some setup stuff.
Right, exactly. So I'm interested to see how that plays out as well.
Now that you've been talking about it, because I hadn't really thought about it that hard until now, but what does cause Spencer and Alexandra to have so much trouble getting back? I mean, I feel like it's not just going to be random. With the Odyssey, there was weather and things like that, but they also had a god that was angry at him and keeping her from getting home. I feel like this one there's going to have to be some actual tangible reason. So maybe her family. She mentioned her family in this episode and the fact that they would despise him. I think it might be interesting if her family finds out what's going on and tries to prevent them from making it home or sends people after her after she ran away. I mean, they don't really know what's happened to her. As far as we know, she may have written them off screen. We're not sure. So that could be interesting. Maybe that's part of the problem with them trying to get back is having to battle the aristocracy of England. As far as Tiana Rainwater, she's taken off. She did take a knife at the end of the episode or a letter opener kind of thing. I'm curious if the sister's the only one who gets killed on the way out. The headmaster there was pretty cruel as well, and just kind of came in from one scene. Yeah, like maybe a couple scenes. He put her in the hot box too, but just real quick stuff. Maybe she stops by there on her way out too, but I don't see her being able to just run the entire rest of the season on her own. So I don't know if she's going to end up finding help, maybe other people running away, if the best friend ends up changing her mind and chasing after her, or if the best friend gets killed off because as retaliation, which that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Right.
Maybe she hooks up with other Native Americans who are running. I don't know. I want to see what she does because I imagine her journey home is going to be much more complicated than even Spencer's. So, but they just have different types of people looking for them and trying to stop them. So both of them, I think, are going to be journeys. And then you get back to what's happening on the Dutton Ranch. And at this point, we've seen, we saw the Duttons hang a few people. Then we saw these people retaliate with an ambush and then stealing cattle. So, which at this point, it feels like it's back on the Duttons, like the ball's back in their court. I know that the Kara doesn't want them doing anything. I wonder if maybe Jack decides to get with Zane and some of the others and plan his own little form of revenge, which may end up backfiring, showing why they shouldn't have been doing anything. But either way, he might decide to plan his own ambush and kill a few people off. So that's who I would look at next because they haven't really done a whole lot with Jack, and I feel like he was very upset about not being allowed to go after the cattle. So maybe he decides to take off on his own and do something. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Like I said, the one thing about that was the letter reading whenever you had the kind of the glitch in the Matrix type situation.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. I thought basically I think they call that, if you look at the behind the scenes, Spencer's hideaway. So that is kind of his off work place that he goes to. So, nice little thing. And what is it about people from like mountainous regions that are just in love with the ocean? Because he's out there standing in the water, he's having the time of his life. That's the one thing that just brings calm to his existence, and he's from Montana.
What was that, City Slickers 2, when you find out Curly's brother just wanted to become a sailor? Sail the ocean. Even though they're from a ranch. Well, anyway, sorry.
It's something we've never seen before. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And I did find it funny when Alexander asked him, when they talk about Africa, why don't they ever talk about this part of Africa? And he says, yeah, because we don't tell them about this part. Don't tell anybody. And I like that. That's his little secret place. I mean, it seemed like that's just where he wanted to be to go to relax, and wants to keep a secret because as soon as other people know, it's going to become a beach resort and all kinds of people will be there.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was like abandoned beach, like you said, abandoned beach to abandoned beach.
Yeah.
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 So, and I'm assuming that is in maybe Kenya, because the first place was in Nairobi. Whenever that stuff happened, they can't be that far away.
Yeah, they gotta be near the savannah somewhere. So.
Yeah.
Well, let me Google that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what would be the closest there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenya. That does make sense.
Yeah. And does Kenya well, never mind. If I say that, I'll give something away. So next week should be fun. It kicks in. We've met Donald Whitfield.
That's it.
Yeah. Timothy Dalton. Excellent.
Yeah. Banner Creighton is kind of going to do his own thing as well in this. He'll be a bad. We have to see what happens with Jacob Dutton. We have to see what happens with Jack and Elizabeth, how they've filled those characters out a little bit. Spencer and Alex, absolutely fantastic. I love that storyline.
Yeah.
And as this goes, I think it's going to build anticipation for the next episode, and we'll be able to see. And because of this writer's strike, sometime around 2034, we'll get a conclusion to it.
I'm going to get impatient fast for Spencer to get back to the farm, and it sounds like that's not going to happen soon. So.
Yeah, I'm just going to quell expectations on that situation because I was in the same boat whenever I watched this the first time. It's like, is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the week? And then you get to the final episode, you're like, really?
Oh no!
Yeah. So
they're finally packed and ready to go.
What I think is going to happen, because like I just said, Spencer is not going to make it back to the ranch this season. Remove that from your head. He's not going to get there. But I think they're going to use the passage of time in this area in between to whenever the season starts will be him arriving at the ranch, essentially. So he will be 100% on the ranch and ready to go from the beginning of the first episode. And if not, these writers have some explaining to do.
Yeah. I agree.
So.
All right.
All right, let's go to sleep. We're doing some little bit of late night recording, right? And hope everybody enjoys this and has a really good weekend. And tune in for more 1923 rewatches that are going to air every Friday night. Tune in to SEC After Dark that airs Wednesday night. Tune in for Tide Talk Live, Bleav In Georgia Dawgs podcast, Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Subscribe to all of those. If you do that, we would appreciate it very much. And if you just happen to find this, thank you very much for doing that. Leave a comment down below of what you think will happen in the next episode. But don't give spoilers if you've seen ahead. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that person. All right. So we are out. Presented by Dead Soxy, After Dark Commentary and Reactions. This has been 1923 Rewatch, Episode 5. Coming back next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on SEC After Dark. And then Episode 5 Rewatch next Friday. And, of course, our YouTube shorts that we're going to continue producing that you guys like. The morning walk, Jake's commute, me in random places doing random things. And, of course, when Jeb decides to finally.
Yeah, Jeb being just a guy.
So,
I think I'm going to switch back to an iPhone so I can start doing my shorts as well.
Until next time. Peace.